We help to build strong foundations when we recognize and appreciate others for who they are and or what they do. When we recognize and appreciate others for who they are, we strengthen their self-esteem. And when we recognize others for what they do, we strengthen their self-confidence. Both are signals to another person that he or she is special. We know ourselves better than anyone, and we probably know a great deal about when we have the feeling of being special and what happened to us to have had that feeling. Now that we know how we ourselves are, then the easiest thing would be if all others were the same. This is usually not the case, and this example can illustrate some of the diversity in human nature. It was really busy in the shop on Friday and Saturday because of a midsummer sale and a high demand for the heavily discounted products. It started already in the morning and developed shortly into chaos. Quite quickly, Catherine took the role as the charming hostess for her guests, and with her positivity and laughter she managed to create a good atmosphere amongst the customers, and the customers perceived it as a different but pleasant shopping day. While Catherine spent time calming the customers down and set the expectations for speed down, Jack figured out a system for how to open the boxes with goods in a sensible order to fulfill the needs of the customers in an efficient way. This meant that the speed, minute by minute, increased for all of the employees in the store. Monday morning, the manager of the team, Helen, recognized and appreciated Catherine and Jack for their efforts. Since Helen is very goal-oriented and is driven by selling as much as possible, she chose to praise Catherine and Jack by telling how much they have sold and how much the sales this year exceeded last year's sales. At the same time, she gave Catherine and Jack a small gift as appreciation for their work. Both said thank you. Helen wondered why it seemed like both Catherine and Jack lacked energy throughout the day and the next day too. They had just been praised. Catherine and Jack are not like Helen. They are not driven by results in the same way as Helen is. Catherine would have liked to be recognized and appreciated for her enthusiastic way of handling customers, and that she used her ability to turn a negative situation into a positive one, creating an atmosphere of joy. Jack would have liked to be recognized and appreciated for the fact that he found a system that was quick and efficient, and that the energy he put into making the system work actually meant that the customers then were served efficiently. Neither Jack nor Catherine were recognized and appreciated for something that they value, while they have been recognized for something that they fundamentally are not getting motivated by. Helen, however, is convinced that she has given valuable praise. The fact is that people are producing more when they receive praise, recognition, and appreciation, celebration, and feedback that are targeted towards them. However, this does not mean that the manager has to change personality. The manager is who the manager is, as well as the employees are the way they are. The law of nature cannot be changed. This does not mean that the manager cannot meet the workers where they are. It is only a matter of technique and insight. That being said, management is a profession of its own, and to become a specialist in management, one of the tasks is to study the employees and get to know how they become motivated in order to perform, master, and excel in what they do. The more insight a manager has, the more the employees will experience that they are special. Recognition and appreciation, praise, celebration, and constructive feedback. In order to understand how these four elements are most effective, it is important to first understand how the individual wishes to be met. No two people are absolutely identical, and unfortunately no manual or guide is attached to any of us. Therefore, it requires that the manager gets close enough to his or her employees in order to understand what provides energy and motivation and what does not, both generally and in the moment. The manager needs to understand human diversity in order to be able to understand the different demands of how to be recognized, appreciated, praised, and celebrated, and how different people want constructive feedback to be able to develop best as possible. Recognition, appreciation, praise, celebration, and constructive feedback work stronger if it adds personal value, meaning that a person gets a pat on the back for things that really matters to this person and are in line with that person's mission in life. It is about creating and maintaining strong foundations. All four elements are tools that, if used in a talented way, can give employees a sense and an experience of being special. It can mean increased performance and thereby a good opportunity for an increased result. The correlation is documented both in theory and in practice. When the 4 elements are linked to development and learning, there is an even greater opportunity to optimize performance and results in both the short and long term by the employees. The recognition and appreciation that the manager provides must be in line with what the individual needs to dare to take one more step in a direction that will lead to the greatest development. When the manager recognizes and appreciates his or her employee, the employee will get even more courage to repeat the success, to do something similar or to do something completely new. When our surroundings believe in us, and especially when our manager believes in us, we generally become more courageous. It is all about support through praise, recognition and appreciation, celebration and feedback so that the employee develops at the tempo that is possible for the individual. The 4 elements can be a tool to get employees to reach out for greater achievements. The fact that people are different is about preferences. What is important and not important for us is predominantly directed by our fundamental values in life. Think of preferences as you think about your right and left hand. If you are right-handed, then you are most probably using the right hand without thinking much. Think about which hand you use to write, open a can, unlock the door and clean the table. Occasionally you use your left hand, but it is not your favorite. You can if you want to, but you have to think about what you do. Most of us are lucky enough and have no problems with training the opposite hand. Unfortunately, most of us do not enjoy training the least preferred hand in the beginning, because we cannot do what we are usually doing. We easily feel that it is not worth it. Once we succeed and we see what the other hand is capable of, then we can begin to enjoy being better. You can transfer the idea of left-right hand to preferences as a human being. Preferences can, for instance, be to have things under control, to work fast, to complete the work, to think about entirely new opportunities, to win, to work in a structured way, to do something for others, to get others to do something which they had never thought possible. There are some preferences which are embedded in the right hand and which we choose to use again and again, and some in the left hand which we choose not to use or to use limitedly. A question for you. Is the preference for recognition, praise, celebration and giving constructive feedback a preference for you or not? Anyone can train themselves to recognize and appreciate so that employees increase performance, and maybe not, some managers will enjoy the journey more than others. Those that continue to be curious and continue to train will most probably benefit from seeing it work in practice, with greater employee satisfaction at the same time. Those who work hard to get a better employee satisfaction will most probably also get a better customer satisfaction and greater business results. There are many aspects to management, some of which are located in the right hand and some in the left. An appropriate question is whether there are managers who master all facets equally well. A claim may be that these super managers do not exist, and if they exist, then it is mostly in their own mirror image. All others must train daily, striving to be a little bit better all the time. There's always room for improvement when it comes to leading and managing. When Helen, from the example, recognizes and appreciates Jack and Catherine according to their needs, then the energy is most probably higher as well as the courage. Helen can then challenge them individually in areas that can make them even better and where their special talents will support them in a new way. This way, Helen can still be focused on results, but now based on Jack's and Catherine's preferences and strengths. Still, it costs to be even better. When we develop ourselves, the risk is that we will get less competent for a while until we have learned new competences. One of the greatest golf stars ever, Tiger Woods, is a really good example. He knew that he was the world's best. He also knew that if he had to remain at the top, he was forced to evolve. He learned a new technique, and that did cost him for a while. When he had learned the new techniques perfectly, he was even better than before. In order to keep up spirits during the period in which we learn new things, we need to be recognized and appreciated for the small steps we take. We need to sense the good feeling of success and to acknowledge that we are moving in the right direction. It then helps when we have either ourselves or often others who want to be cheering us on. Recognition and appreciation is a force that brings energy to the recipient, and that energy is often translated into action. The action is to do more of the same, something similar, or something completely new. The force increases the courage to move outside one's own comfort zone. It brings self-esteem and self-confidence, which strengthens the belief in success. The belief in success is crucial for increasing the realistic chances of success, and not only in our dreams. With belief comes also the desire to do more, which means more actions and more activities. The more you believe that you can score and try to, the more chance of getting goals. When recognition and appreciation can increase the actions taken, then the opportunity increases for an even better business result. Besides results being affected, it also has a positive effect on health. As mentioned before, researchers have discovered that there is correlation between recognition and our brain and heart functions. Immune systems can be stronger, which usually means fewer sick days and less risk of stress. It sounds good, and the question is whether some managers are more born to this type of management than others. To celebrate, recognize and appreciate, praise and give and receive feedback are competences that are learned and not born. Some learn them instantly, and others will never learn them. Whether we learn them or not are closely linked to our values and what drives and motivates us, and whether it interests us or not. Also, the manager's perception of the level of achievements an employee should reach to be given recognition and appreciation can be very high. This could prevent the manager from training the competences which are linked to the 4 elements. Managers who are setting high goals for themselves and their employees can pat themselves on the back because they aim high. This being said, the same managers can most probably benefit from thinking about how many of their employees who are in need of their manager's recognition and appreciation in order to meet the high level of expectations. Managers who find it easy to recognize and appreciate enjoy looking for the many small details in everyday life that makes a difference. These managers get energy from making others happy and strong. It is important to ask the question whether there is a goal for the recognition and appreciation, or if it is just small talk. Is it the manager's goal to develop others, or is it a personal need to be liked by others? No matter what the goal is, it is important to be proud of a natural desire and ability to recognize and appreciate. If this ability is used to focus on developing the employees at the right pace, then the development curve for each employee will raise. In theory, we all need to be recognized and appreciated by others. It gives us a starting point in life to know that we are okay. When we know that we are okay, then there is basis to be and do even more. At this point, some will already say, I do not need that. I know when I'm good and not good, and I do not need anybody to tell me. One can easily argue the opposite for 2 reasons. Life goes up and down, whether we like it or not. At some point in our lives, we will be hit by bad personal times, and here we get to learn the value of knowing what it exactly is that we are good at. If we only refer to ourselves and our assessment of ourselves, then we are cut off from the valuable knowledge that others have about us. Without this knowledge, we will not utilize our full potential, since we do not know exactly what competences we have and which competences we could take advantage of by training even more. We all need to be recognized and appreciated. It is just different in how we want it to be, and therein lays interesting knowledge for a manager. If the manager knows how each employee wishes to be recognized and appreciated, then the manager can help the employee to develop even faster. The power that lies in recognizing and appreciating is attainable for everyone, even if it at the moment seems unnecessary, cumbersome, time-consuming, and difficult. It is all about getting to know the elements and then to train them. When we recognize and appreciate, we are actually celebrating another person's success, for whom they are as a person or what they have achieved in a task. The celebration can be with or without noise, but the important point is that the recognition is clear. Clarity in words can of course be accompanied by applause, gifts, hoorays, or other forms of response, but it is not necessary. Clarity can be the exact words we choose to help another person to understand exactly what the recognition and appreciation is being given for. Being concrete is evident for ensuring that the other person is able to use the recognition and appreciation to be even better. For too many leaders, recognition and appreciation of an employee's performance is only something we use when something superior happens. For instance, a launch of a new product that has given an increase in turnover of 11%, a financial report that significantly exceeds expectations, or a new customer with $1 billion trade. That is also to be recognized and appreciated, but there's more to it than that. Recognition and appreciation also covers the smaller personal successes in everyday life and the extra effort a team has done through a period of time. For instance, you recognize the customer from the photos he had in his office. Photography is his interest, and you saw that he was so happy, and that meant that sales negotiations went much easier. You presented the new way of archiving for the whole team, and it went well. And even though you say that you were nervous, I did not notice that at all. You presented a new idea to me, and I think it was good and worth developing further. Your team focused 100% on a task that neither of you wanted, and which was so important in order for us to achieve what we wanted, and you succeeded at it. It is the smaller things in everyday life which makes the big difference, and it is worth remembering that the positive energy of recognition and appreciation has an effect of more than 6 hours. It resembles the old story about an apple a day keeps a doctor away. Question for you. In your world, is an apple a day a recognition or a frustration a day? Both of them last all day, and it is you as a manager who has the key to and the responsibility for energy, performance, and results in your team. Is an apple a day from your leader a recognition or a frustration of the day? The starting point is the strength of the individual. Conventional leadership and management are based in focusing on what the employee is bad at, in an attempt to rectify the employee. It is not important to work with what the employee is good at, since it is already working for him or her. Developmental dialogues with the employee are therefore seen in this light. The starting point gives dialogues focused on action plans to make the employee better in what they are not good at. Most often it means insecurity, a need to stay in own comfort zone, a slow learning curve, and not living up to potential. However, it can in certain situations make good sense. If the employee has the talents and the potential, and if it makes sense in relation to what is important in the job. At the same time, it is important that it makes sense in relation to what the employee thrives on, in order to get the maximum yield of learning. For example, it may be important in the employee's optic if the new learning supports the work she is happy about and which she wants to keep. The employee can be full of energy when learning something she's bad at and does not like to work with, just because it is necessary in order to keep the job she likes. An example could be a shy IT specialist who needs to learn how to speak in public to engage people in new tools. Best of all is when the employee has an undeveloped potential and new learning offers new opportunities in the job and in life. The ultimate driver of learning is the dream to become better at something because it makes sense to the employee himself. If it only makes sense to the manager to fix what is not working, then it is rarely a long-lasting and best result. The manager can ask him or herself whether the employees are best utilized doing what they are bad at and do not succeed in, or if they are best utilized working with what they are good at and are successful at. It is kind of the same thing as using a hammer as a screwdriver. Another valuable question is whether the company has changed course during the past years and there is an actual need of a different type of employee. In that case, it is not certain that the employee has or will have the talent and passion for the work that is needed at present. Another frequent course to jobs talent and passion not matching is that the interview could have been more honest about what is really required. Having the strengths of the employees as a starting point and focusing on these strengths is what ensures a healthy and strong foundation. This applies both to the strengths already there and the strengths which might come. With this starting point, the manager can intensify and enhance the employee's foundations based on talent, skills, training, and courage. One of the manager's strongest tools is recognition and appreciation, including also praise, celebration, and constructive feedback. Recognition and appreciation is not about overdoing praise. It does not have to sound like this. "Oh, you're so absolutely fantastic." There's a difference between how excited we are, and for some, the overexcited words are a part of one's personality, and for others may not be the case. The people around us are well aware of who we are, and we should not have to change this to be able to praise and recognize our employees. There's a difference between praise and recognition and appreciation. Praise can be given in a general form and without a detailed explanation, or without having great importance. For instance, "You're just so wonderfully happy today." "It's a nice dress you have on today." Or, "It's so lovely when you're here." When we praise, we give another person a feel-good experience. We cannot walk away from our heritage, but we can learn to use the techniques of praise, recognition, and appreciation, constructive feedback, and celebration, so it becomes a powerful tool more than a part of our personality. People around us are all individual, and how praise and recognition is experienced and what motivates us is different from person to person. Generally speaking, we are all driven by recognition and appreciation, so it is important that the manager is able to offer this to the employees. At the same time, it is important to remember that there will be differences in how it is received by the employees. In general, there is a difference in whether we want recognition for what we do, either creating results or delivering quality, or who we are to other people, either a group or an individual. Recognition and appreciation holds more substance than praise and is generally more based on facts with a reasonable explanation. For instance, "It is really good that you took the time to double check one more time. Otherwise, we could not have corrected production at that time. It could have meant ending up with too many products in stock." Or, "Your attention toward who needs additional training is important to the team cohesion, and it strengthens our knowledge base." Whether the manager is better at the exuberant praise or the more fact-based and well-founded recognition and appreciation is a matter of style. If the manager can balance both, he or she can meet the employee's need for praise and recognition. Most of us got acquainted with praise, recognition, and appreciation for the first time when we were kids. Our mother, father, or a person close to us praised us on our first drawing, and we would rush to make more of the same kind. We became more capable, drawing patterns and using colors, and later we were able to work with different shapes. Each time we received praise, we would strive to improve more. It was okay that we were no longer being praised for a competence that we already excelled in, but instead received praise for other new skills. The system does not, in fact, change even when we become adults. Praise, recognition, and appreciation lead us to do more of the same kind, giving us the desire and the encouragement to improve ourselves and to extend our competences. Without praise, recognition, and appreciation, it is not certain that we will know exactly where our strengths are. Children who never get praise, recognition, and appreciation fight in vain, and some will always be in doubt as to whether they are successful or not, according to what matters. It is the same with adults. Guess what you get appreciation for? The manager cannot expect that employees are able to guess his or her recognition. For instance, "Well, I bought pizza the other day at work and that was recognition to the employees." And for what? The manager needs to explain exactly what it was that triggered the recognition. A pizza cannot tell the employee exactly how he or she made a personal difference. The manager's recognition and appreciation strengthens the employee's self-confidence and faith in their own personal value and ability to act. However, It is important to ensure that the employee receives it and does not misunderstand it because the manager has not been clear enough, or that the employee has a habit of rejecting it. Those who are not accustomed to receiving recognition and appreciation must have time to get used to it. Recognition and appreciation must be precise, specific, and with details on why, when, and how the employee's strengths are working. With direct and specific communication, misunderstandings can be avoided, especially when the body language expresses the same as the words. Personal recognition and appreciation in distant management. The body language cannot always be present when employees are working at a distance. The manager is not always physically present, but is present by phone or via email. It is important that the employees get to know the manager so they know how the manager is working with management. The best time to get to know each other is at the beginning of the relationship. Personal visits may be needed in the beginning by the manager to discover how the employees are working and what drives them. The manager can also keep an eye on what stakeholders say about the employees. This way makes it possible for the manager to deliver recognition and appreciation to the employees from information passed on by the stakeholders. Even if an employee is working at distance, the manager needs to be close to the employee to be able to give periodic feedback on how the employee is doing and acknowledge areas the employee may benefit from learning and further training in order to become even better. Once the employee knows the manager, like words, voice, body language, then the body language is no longer that important. Most managers have their own definite structure in how they use words, voice, and body language, and once learned, it does not matter if recognition, appreciation, praise, celebration, and constructive feedback are dealt with over the phone. This means that the manager can keep close contact, since most employees are only a phone call away. Mail, on the other hand, cannot replace direct contact physically or by phone, but it is a good addition. Misunderstandings arise easier by mail than by direct contact. Recognition by mail is still a good option if there are difficulties getting in touch by phone. To be seen, heard, and taken seriously. The important issue is that the employee experiences that they are being seen, heard, and taken seriously in areas of significance to the employee. It is the inner work life that is the focus, and whether or not the employee perceives him or herself to be recognized and appreciated. The manager can also show his or her recognition and appreciation of the employee by, for instance, delegating important tasks, praise the employees and let them know, replace control with involvement, trust and development, carry out regular developing dialogues and give feedback. Delegate important tasks. Many companies and managers say that they are delegating and giving employees the power to act. It gives the employee the belief that the company and the manager trust and support the decisions taken by him or her. They feel important. Questions for you. How often are you delegating important tasks? Are there tasks you believe you excel at, but the reality is that you just don't have the patience or the confidence to delegate? Or situations where you disfavor losing control, or where you anticipate that the task will not be solved perfectly? Are you delegating the whole task, or do you feel the need to dig into the task yourself, resulting in the task not being fully delegated anyway? How do you show that you are proud when your employees take responsibility? Where can you benefit from delegating even more? Praise the employees and let them know. The easiest thing for a manager to do is to steal the employees' good ideas and take credit for them. It equals copyright. When you have corrected a few words in the text, then it suddenly becomes yours. There's nothing more frustrating to employees than when the manager steals an idea and presents it as his own. There's so much energy in bragging about employees in front of others, and if the employee is not there, let the employee know afterwards. The energy will most likely be converted into increased production, which will benefit the manager in the end. Questions for you. How often do you brag about your employees? How often do your employees get credit for being innovative, creative, and brilliant? How often do you present an employee's idea as your own? When can you brag even more about your employees? Replace control with involvement, trust, and development. Managers' desire to keep control, ensure perfect deliveries, and being reluctant to delegate and involve often originate from their perception that they can do the task better and faster themselves, that it will not be exactly as he or she intended it to be, or that he or she loses the knowledge and power. The greatest fear is often that the employee will fail. If the employee fails, the manager will fail. If the employee chooses a solution which the manager thinks is only a 70% solution, it can give the manager a sense of impatience, thinking it would be easier to do it himself to ensure coming up with a better solution. It could also be that the manager perceives the employee as less intelligent since he or she did not choose the solution that the manager had seen as the logical choice. When the leader cannot escape from the desire for control, perfectionism, fears of failing, or lacking knowledge, then the manager ends up creating a culture where employees do not take responsibility, which decreases the possibilities for development. When the manager is not available to support employees in their development due to spending time on production, can mean that employees may lose enthusiasm and any desire to take responsibility. It can also result in employees feeling that they have nothing of value to contribute with, or the whole organization are doing double work, all because the manager has their fingers in the pie. Once the manager has set the direction, stated the goals to be reached, and clearly marked what is up for discussion and what is not, then it is up to the employees to influence how their work is being done in the best way. Letting go of control leaves space for people to be creative and proactive when forming the work life together with the team. Involvement creates ownership and energy and is a great way of showing trust in people. Control has a way of limiting initiatives, whereas developing dialogues are not. The significant difference between control and development is that the manager is curious about how the employee can be even better instead of judging results by numbers. The manager's curiosity helps the employee to form a learning plan for how to become even better. Questions for you. How can you benefit from letting go of control? How often are you in control where it is really not necessary, but where it gives you a sense of security and or assurance that your deliveries are perfect or exactly how you want it to be? Where can you benefit from replacing control with development? How often do you involve your employees in how work is being done? Where can you benefit from involving even more? How often do you have dialogues with your staff where the only focus is development? Carry out regular developing dialogues and give feedback. These dialogues are also called management coaching, business coaching, or coaching for performance. They are focusing on letting the employee be seen, heard, and taken seriously. It can be very useful to carry out developing dialogues with each employee at least once per month. This gives the opportunity for the manager and employee to reflect on what has happened during the previous month. These should be areas where success should be celebrated, challenges that were faced discussed, and highlighting the benefits of improving even further. Many psychologists believe that 90 to 95% of our motivation is related to being seen, heard, and taken seriously. Regardless of whether the percentage is lower, it's certainly worth noting and doing something about. Developing dialogues is one of the management tools to ensure that the employees are being seen, heard, and taken seriously. Questions for you. How often do you have individual dialogues with your employees? Do you talk about the tasks or the person? How are you talking about the person behind the performance? How can you focus even more on developing dialogues? What is keeping you from doing that? Enter the leadership path, lead and manage performance to learn more about developing dialogues. Many managers believe that employees are seen, heard and taken seriously when they receive a pay rise, but this only has a limited impact. The recognition and appreciation we receive in everyday life is much more important, with lasting effects for both the employee and the company. Recognition and appreciation, which gives the employee a sense of being seen, heard, and taken seriously, will most probably encourage the employee to work even more intensely. There will be fewer episodes of small talk by the coffee machine relating to things not working and frustrations that are not being addressed. Instead, the time is spent on producing more. Some may think, well, I shouldn't have to recognize employees for what I expect them to do, meaning reaching the goals that are set for them. I should praise them when their efforts are beyond expectations, but not just because they do what they are hired to do. The old told story, if I recognize the employees, they will just get lazy because they feel more safe, or if I recognize employees, they will just ask for higher salaries. Just does not hold true in reality. What the manager focuses on, the manager will gain more of, meaning that if the manager wants more of something, he or she must recognize what is already there and what he or she would like to see more of, then not being anxious when employees set higher demands. If an employee is demanding a salary rise, then the manager must be specific in explaining what would be required of the employee to warrant a rise, if at all possible. If the requirements are not specific and detailed, then it is quite understandable that employees ask for higher salaries since they do not know when they can obtain one.